Good evening, everyone. My name is Nirwan. I'm your host and the General Secretary of NOSPLAN Organization of Students of Planning. And on behalf of all the coordinators, I welcome you all to the second episode of Not Just Another Webinar. Like we've discussed before, it's not just a series of lectures and speakers, but come bringing to you innovative ideas, out of the box ideas, speakers in the field of planning to update you on the ongoing things, the modern things that are going on in today's market. So today we have something special. You guys already know the rules. If you want to have raise any questions, if you want to support your college, put your college name under hashtags, and if you want to ask any questions, just put your name, institution in the comment box, and they'll be filtered out for us. So for today, we are like we always claim to not just another webinar. Today also we are bringing it to a new level. Instead of telling what can be done, we are taking you to a aspect of how exactly it can be done. So here at NOSPLAN, like we've always discussed that we push our limits to innovation and come bringing up with new ideas. I myself have been associated with the NOSPLAN family for 4 years, trying to push or come up with something innovative, something new every year to, break the boundaries of the competition, get the upper edge of other institutions and things like that. Obviously, I've failed. Otherwise, I would have had some trophies behind me rather than books. But we have someone who is. The name is Delhi from 2019. He was a part of the Design and Innovation Center, and at that time, and currently he's working with the Planning, Innovation, and Consultancy. He was involved in a research project on introducing video games as a pedagogical tool for planning. To kind of simplify it for our new viewers, it's basically like this man wants to bring in video games and planning on the same page. So Tanmay sir, the screen is yours.
Hi. So I am Tanmay. I am a 2019 pass out of SPA Delhi, B Plan, and I will be your seminar speaker for today. So basically, this seminar is emanating from my thesis project, in which I was trying to research if video games could be utilized as a pedagogical tool for teaching urban planning in B planning courses, or if possible, even in higher courses. More on that later. So today I will majorly be briefing you about how the game is played and also what thought went into my thesis, as in what was going on at that time and how basically the idea coined out. So in our seventh semester, we are supposed to do a dissertation, right? On a topic which is usually used as a literature study for your thesis. So at that time, I wanted to do something with video gaming because this idea popped in my head that okay, there are video games in which you have these grand cities designed, planned, of course, to the user experience. Like how long should a person be running and not get bored after some time, right? And to my surprise, I found out that actually architects and planners are hired to do such kind of jobs to enhance the user experience that they have, and what can be done and what cannot be done is determined by them basically. So this idea popped into my head and I took it to my guide, Professor Dr. Poonam Prakash. I told her that I wanted to do something with video games, but not exactly what. So she told me that some small research that will help me basically to understand how video games are basically being used today, and if there is a possibility of using them in urban planning courses or in urban planning in any way possible, right? So I'll just show you my dissertation PPT, right? Which was basically how I presented my work that time, right? Hold on. Where is it? Okay. Right. So basically, the need for the study. I had to establish a need for the study at that time, right?
Tanmay,
How
your screen is not visible.
my screen is not visible. Um, is it visible now? Hello? Wait, I'll just do this.
Yeah, it's working now. I think there was a lag. Could you please
Okay,
begin from the beginning?
right, of course. Is it sharing now?
Yes, it's working.
Okay. So basically, we establish our need of the study as the first foremost thing, that why are we studying this? So we came up with some research question, that why is there a need for studying this? What are the various ways in which it has been already been used, and what are the various advantages and disadvantages? Our main concern here is, if it has already been used, is there a way to enhance that usage? Or is there a new technology which has not been taken advantage of yet? Right? So coming to the research, why is there need for study? First thing first, conceptualization of a city. So this thing, the games are basically imitating real life on a model, right? There is known as agent-based model as well as cell-based model. So your cell-based model would somewhat look like the real estate rate, right? You have a high commercial place in the middle, and the rent value around the area is also high because of that individual CBD or whatever the commercial place is. So let's say that that is one cell of a math notebook, right? And that cell is affecting all the 8 squares around it. So this is known as cell-based model. This is what is used in a lot of video games as well as a lot of theories to basically relate stuff. Now, changing role of planner. Right now, today, I don't think planners have just the role of maintaining a city. They have been actually increased to actually like enhance the user experience of the person living in the city, that the person can relate to it. So basically, the person has to be resourceful, has to have a lot of control over what he can do and he cannot do. Why simulation model? Because these are basically artificial worlds that exhibit real world. So if they cannot give the right answer, they can at least bring us closer to the right answer. Right? So, okay, some important terminologies that we will be going through so that there is no confusion. First of all, game. What is a game? It is basically two people trying to achieve a means through the limited number of moves that they have. Now, means is also an agreed set of equipment and procedural rules that can produce a winning situation. So basically, deciding on what is the means and what is the final thing end, and what are the means to achieve it. These are basic rules which are given in a game. Now, what is a serious game? A serious game is similar to what a game is, but it is not designed for entertainment purposes. It can be for anything. It can be for presentation, or it can be for just public participation. It will be known as a serious game, or you can call it a workshop, right? Then what is a simulation? A simulation is basically a real life model in an artificial world. That is what you would, in simple language, call a simulation. Then we have what is a gaming simulation. Now, gaming simulation, you combine all of this, you get what a gaming simulation is. It's basically you have an artificial world which is uh, a game. I don't know how to like properly explain this, right? Now, there are some urban planning inspired games. These are very old. Now we have new games coming up which you can even play on mobile, uh, your cell phone. And those games actually teach you a lot if you put in a little time as to break the game, basically how to win the game without even trying. And you'll actually understand a lot of stuff. So you have SimCity, Plasticity, and Urban Plans. These are really old games, so I don't think these are as relevant to telling you about, but these were relevant for the research because research requires you to find all the things, all the resources that have been used today, right? Now, as I did my research, I found that gaming was actually being used for a lot of things. First, this is gaming being used as a pedagogical tool. This is a very fantastic research done by this professor John Gaber at his institute, where he basically conducted a whole semester of this classes in which he tried to teach the students through gaming by letting them build a city over a semester and basically journaling everything that they do in the city. And he came up with a lot of good insights. Now, second is gaming being used as a participation tool. This is actually the example that I've written is a bit old. I'll tell you a better example. In Amsterdam, they're actually using game as a participation tool. They are preparing an app for all the phones in the Amsterdam city. So basically, you can download it. You can write your user experience, how you feel about the city, and how you would score, and if you'd like to do a walkthrough of the city and stuff like that in the virtual world, and then give experience to the planners who are sitting as to how it was, how it felt. So this is also a very nice thing. Then you have gaming as a presentation tool. Now, in planning, we've seen that we produce hundreds and hundreds of pages, and we seldom know if somebody's going to read it all or just flip through it and find what is important. But if you produce it through a medium such as simulation, basically what we do in GIS or any other kind of simulation software, a video game can serve the basically same purpose by being a good presentation tool. Gaming as a designing tool, this is something which is highly sought out for, because you need a perfect code or a perfect algorithm of the real world to imitate in a virtual reality. So gaming as a designing tool is something of which we don't have the complete technology of, but again, if it doesn't give us the answer, it definitely gets us closer to what could be the possible solution for a problem. Now, what are the advantages of using gaming simulations? First is your analysis. Okay. It gives us clues to identify the sensitive points, the right directions. Because when you give a wrong command in a game, it will probably end up with some byproduct or a problem, which you realize that, okay, this was due to that decision. And so it teaches you how to analyze your problems. Next is advantage in presentation, as I already told. Third is role of a planner. This makes the role of a planner much more dynamic and much more, I'll say, rational. Basically, the planner gets more tools and more resources to analyze his problems and even try some simulations to see what his solutions could go out for. Then you have more participation. Um, Gaming, of course, if you say gaming, anybody would be enticed by that, okay, what is this about and what is happening? I want to play too. So it has that oomph factor which helps us create more participation. Then the pedagogy advantage, I'll actually show you why this works through an example after I'm done explaining this. Uh, okay, I'll do that then only. View of alternatives. So when you're doing a simulation, you can use different methods to achieve your solution, and you can simulate them at a faster rate, thus giving you the chance to actually analyze what your solution is bringing on the table. If it's not bringing enough, you can change it, you can tweak it. In real life, you have this solution to apply for 20 years. You very seldom see your solution actually being the solution of a problem, because usually another problem arrives by the time you are done solving that solution problem. Limitations and key findings. Okay, so there are a certain amount of limitations with these. There is the concept that how do you get into the factor of human behavioral sciences, right? You like SimCity has done this. SimCity has given individual humans at least 15 characteristics of their own. All 15 are usually different for different people, and that's what affects the behavior of a sim, which is what you call that single person in the game, uh, to do things that they are supposed to do due to their behavior. Now, again, this is very limiting because we all know in real life, all humans have a tendency to think differently, right? So it doesn't, basically, again, we don't have the technology to come up to there. Then there are things such as slums and informal housing, your informal sector. You don't really have the resource, like we don't know how to define these or how to solve for these problems in real life only. So we can't really expect to find a solution when we we don't have the necessary variables to understand the problem. How we can't exactly expect the simulation to understand the problem either. So this was basically about my dissertation, right? How I did my thesis was I took this research and with my guide's help, I did a semester with first year students of SPA Delhi in 2018. So I designed two modules. One was at that time, the module that the first year study is usually the land use module and the neighborhood study, right? So I designed a module in which they were supposed to build a city out of the understanding that they got in their first semester. This was their second semester, first year. So in first semester, they teach you about the green city movement and folk movement and all those movements and basically designs of city. So my idea was that if these students can apply those cities in the game, they will actually understand what the drawbacks of these theories were. And it actually helped a lot. Now I'll show you how it does this. So now this was one of the modules that we designed in our uh, design innovation center. Now this looks barely very simple and not very pleasing, but it works very nicely. So now the problem is in this, the green is the residential land use, the blue is the commercial land use, and the yellow is the industrial land use, right? Now, if you remember concentric zone theory, it usually said that the CBD, which was usually the industrial area as well as the commercial area, that was in between the land, right? In the center. And then around it, your sprawls came up, which basically helped expand the city. Now, we all know that there were a lot of drawbacks to this because it didn't really explain any city. It just explained one city because it was drawn from that. The example was drawn from that. Now, when I did this kind of stuff in this game, that I start with industrial in between, it actually explains you that this type of development will ruin the residential areas around it. Let me see if it shows the pollution levels. Right, yeah, it shows the pollution levels. Now, you see those brown circles, these are the ground pollution and how they're expanding. Now, due to these commercial industrial areas, this residential population actually gets back because these people start leaving the houses in the simulation because of the bad environment they're living in. So what happens is, instead of uh, this type of structure in which you have a kind of not exactly random structure, but you have your CBD with industrial area in between and commercial and residential area outside, it doesn't exactly work. And later on, you'll find after you're actually playing this game, you're assigning land uses and playing it out, you'll understand that you will actually turn into kind of the sector model, which was the second model that we usually study in planning after the concentric zone theory model. This now the sector model explains that you usually have one kind of land use in a sector type format expanding through the inner city. You will actually find that this will prove that, because once industrial area sends the area of residential and commercial behind because people don't want to reside in those areas, commercial expands in one direction, which is one sector, and residential usually expands in the other direction, not anywhere close to the industrial areas. So the middle areas are usually filled with your transportation sectors, transportation hubs, your commercial areas, your office zones, and other kinds of these utility stuff, which will happen in this game later on as I play it. I can't play it right now because this game usually takes about 3 days to even build a city to about 20,000, sorry, 60,000, 70,000 population. Right now, this city has a 1,600 population, which can be shown right here, lower down. And you have your budget and the money that's going on, your requirement that there is no demand for residential, no demand for commercial, no demand for industrial. And right now it's so, but once I let it simulate like this, it will actually start generating demands, and things will start happening. It will tell you that your residential demand is slowly increasing, that because you have a lot of industrial area and people need people to work, like this pop-up that's there. uh, Sorry, this one, citizens are sick. Now this is basically because of the industrial area nearby. And if we see at the land use, that was residential. Residential, industrial do not exactly mix. This is a basic learning that you're getting, but it's very, very important for new freshers to who are entering into the planning world to understand these very basic things, that these kind of things will happen and they will observe it happening live, which creates a problem like multiple purpose. Again, pollution. Now again, this fantastic tool has these analysis tools basically telling you about how your city is functioning currently. Let me pause the simulation for a second. There it shows that your electricity demand is quite full. I'm actually overproducing electricity, which is, I don't know, I think bad. Then your water demand is full. The water pipes have been laid down, water is coming from here. You have your education sector. So basically all kind of tools that you can use. Now this, as you see, is I'm sorry, what is this? It's a hospital. So if I do place it near one of the bigger roads, it shows a full coverage, right? Full cover. But if I show it somewhere, wait, okay, this city is just too small to show it right now. maybe here. Yeah, right. So you see the bottom right part doesn't cover it. So it's basically showing what is the catchment area of this hospital. How much area would it cover if placed here? If it placed at a bigger street, it will show that it will cover all. Similarly, all the tools in this work like this, and they explain to you how you can do stuff. All right. So I'm sorry. I'll explain to you how my thesis was done. Okay. After doing my dissertation, we designed these two modules, which were neighborhood model and the land use study module. In the land use studies module, the students were given this one blank area in which you were supposed to design whatever kind of city you want and basically understand why that city works or why that city does not work. Right. Then you have the neighborhood study. In this, the students were all given an already made city. Okay, the city was already built by me and then given to the students. After that, the students were supposed to choose an area where they could um, build a new residential area, basically saying that the city demanded residential areas, new housing, and the students were supposed to design this neighborhood system. Now, when they designed the system, they understood that, okay, planning is one way a big job, but then you have your small sectors in which your circulation is really important. How how the access to the area is given, that is very important. And then you have your facilities such as schools, police stations, and all these, which have a small catchment area. They don't have a really big catchment area. So you have to place them very strategically in a neighborhood. So this was given to the students, and they designed the I'm sorry, they designed the neighborhood in a small area, and they did all this, and they understood that okay, maybe our circulation, how we thought a neighborhood should work, is a little bit dicey. Maybe it needs a little more working. Maybe we were lacking this. Some of the students did a great job. Like they designed amazing circulations, but they forgot parks. Right? It's such a small thing, but they kind of forgot it in the circulation. But that created a permanent learning for them that you shouldn't be forgetting such small things. And that's the point of this game, to introduce freshers and new students to the area of planning. How does planning work? What is happening actually in the city? This was a major problem when I entered the college. I entered my school and I was studying planning, but I had no idea like what are land uses and why do we classify them like that. You have say one what warehouse, and you want to put it in a land use, but you don't really know where it goes. Does it go in commercial? Maybe because commercial products are passing through it. Do you put in industrial? I don't know, because it is a warehouse, right? Nothing is being produced commercially there. Similar problems for hotels, right? You put them usually as commercial, but they're residing places for a lot of people. So why not put it as residential? These were small problems which I really didn't know how to understand. Now, as we went through this game, people understand that, okay, maybe that individual things are not important. They are important on their own level. They are not important as in when you're trying to put them somewhere. You don't need to put them somewhere. You just need to understand what is the interaction that they're creating with the environment around them. And that's what this game teaches, that you have your so many land uses, so many other things, and you just have to produce a model in which works nicely, which doesn't create traffic jams. Oh, right. This game actually has a really good transportation model. It actually produces almost real-time accurate results if your circulation will work or not. If you plan it, you can like the game will actually tell you if it will work or not after a certain time. So I think I should conclude at that because it I think we can go in a lot of detail, but let's conclude at that. Let's take some questions.
Uh, Thank you, Tanmay. The session was pretty much self-explanatory, but the students are kind of crossing the gaps that you put up, and we have a lot of questions from students coming up.
Right.
Uh, First of all, we have Ishita Saraswat from SPA Delhi asking,
Hmm.
can simulation games also be used for people to increase awareness about planning as a means of participation?
Yeah, man, that's such a good idea. That's actually a pretty great idea. Um, so the Finland, this game City Skylines comes from a Finnish company. And you know what they did? They created a competition for this open space. Okay. They wanted some kind of an, no, it was a junction. My bad. My bad. It
Mhm.
was a junction. So they created a competition in which anybody could participate and try to solve that junction. But the catch was that this competition was actually held in City Skylines game, and a lot of people came. All right, there was one winner who actually produced this amazing looking intersection, and that was actually implemented in real time. The planners actually took that solution in and created that, and I think that created a lot of awareness among the people about what planning is about and what planning does, what planning community does.
That's actually amazing. We have a so actually that leads us to our next question by Chaitanya Lodha. He's asking, how can you use this game in Indian context? The game was developed having mostly European and American context. He's from
Yes,
SPF.
very rightly said. Very rightly said. This game is produced mostly in European and American context. That's why my research was limited to teaching about planning to students and not actually using it to design cities. I mean, I would love to actually. I actually had a talk with the City Skylines team also, and they were pretty nice people. But I think they're still working on a lot of stuff in City Skylines, and they're adding new and new modules every year. But yeah, the Indian context is really like not easy to get into simulations. I don't think we can do it immediately, but we can do it in some time. So coming back to the question, in Indian context, no, it does not apply a lot, but it can teach you about how land uses works and how projection, basically demand and supply, work in the planning community. It won't teach you exactly what the solution will be, but it will teach you how you can think about it.
Okay, so we have another question by Barsha Paul. This is a bit more general one. This approach of gamification for public participation and engagement interests a subset of population. Do you think it has the power to bring citizens into decision making on a larger scale?
uh, that's a difficult question. I think it can, because it has been done before in other countries, right? If I am seeing the trend, yes, it can. The answer is yes, it can. But considering how we, how our, like, what kind of a education or what kind of solution, basically the solution needs to be a simple one to actually do it to the masses, right? We have a population of 134 crores. You need to bring everyone to the same speed to implement such a big decision making on a large scale, right? And basically, you'll have to simplify it a lot so that everybody actually gets to the same page and not gets confused in somewhere in between.
All right, that I guess that answers it. So we have another question from Sneha. She's from SPA Vijayawada. How much time does it actually take for a non-gamer to learn the city building simulation game? And is it really worth the time?
It doesn't take much time at all. It will take you, I think, one day to figure out how not to get bankrupt in the first half an hour. Okay. After you figured that out, I think you can actually sustain your city pretty well. And you can see what problems are being created because of the decisions you took like for 10 minutes ago. Right? 10 minutes ago, you decided to place something. After 10 minutes of simulation, you realize, oh shit, that's creating a lot of like it's going through the drainage, and my drain now everybody's drinking bad water and everybody's getting sick. And you're like, okay, neither this problem needs first solution. So I think it will take just one day to actually learn how the city building game works. And if about does it really worth the time? I mean, if you wanna, like, it's a video game. It's everybody's worth the time, man. It's fun to play. Like, take it as a game and play. Don't take it to study, and you'll actually study on the way.
Exactly. I think so. We can conclude to the fact that it's a perfect thing for first year students specifically.
Yeah, yeah,
Considering this
definitely. I agree with that perfectly. That first year should definitely play it and understand. They can even play SimCity, but there's a problem with SimCity that in city skylines you have one resident person living somewhere and going to office somewhere, right? And every day you'll see that if you observe just that person, that he goes to the same house and he goes to the same work profile, and it'll be amazing, right? Like, how's this happening? Whereas in SimCity, what happens is, if a person say gets into a jam, right, going to his workplace, he'll actually change his workplace in between so that it doesn't crowd too much. Basically, it's just a representation, right? SimCity, the things are a representation of what should be working, whereas in city skylines, they're actually the ones that are working. One is a presentation, one is the live model.
I think
Although
this
both
should
work very nicely.
we should definitely quote this one specifically. That's a very well put answer. We have another interesting question for you. It's from Udit from SP Delhi. He's asking, could there be a chance to introduce politics in the game? Because policies, I'm so sorry, but
Polish.
let's politics and policies. Because policies have a very huge impact on city planning, which the games usually don't take into consideration.
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so the game does actually provide policies. You know, you can actually divide the city into small districts. Okay, and you can name them, of course, and you can implement individual policies in those small districts. So you have policies like smoking ban, no car, and then you have recreational use of drugs also. Okay, in that, what the game does is that it increases the happiness level, but it decreases, oh sorry, it also increases the crime level also of that particular district. Okay, if you increase the non-smoking ban, the pollution level of that district will go down, but the happiness level will also go down. So it introduces these small policies which can actually be implemented on a large level. There's water harvesting policy, go green policy, which you can actually introduce in small districts and see what the changes are happening because of that. It's really like creative, and like I really enjoyed playing that game.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. So, Tanmay, taking it further a bit,
Yeah.
um, can we also formulate our own kind of policy? Are these sample policies, or can we create our own, like let's say Manrega or the
At the current, no. At the current, I don't think you can create your custom policies. At the current, they give their own policies, but it's like 30 or 40 policies, right? You can actually do a matrix and see how many possibilities are there. Like, what all can you put at one time and what all you shouldn't put at one time. Right? You do a matrix and you can actually achieve Manrega somehow. I don't know. But yeah, right. You can't do a custom policy. They have a built-in 35, 40 policies. Like, these are all the limitations of the game, right? That's why it was used
Mhm.
as a pedagogical tool and not as a designing tool.
Definitely. So we also have a question from Barsha again from SPA Bhopal.
Right.
Don't you think these things will affect the conceptual understanding of students, which is required as a basic when the game itself shows you the catchment area and you don't actually analyze it?
Yeah,
Okay,
good.
so maybe somewhere.
Right.
Please,
So
Tanvi.
what happens is, it does change your conceptual understanding a little bit, but because it doesn't show you the catchment area, and you haven't actually analyzed why this area is so, it will somehow trigger you to actually come up with an answer that why is this area this much only? Why couldn't it be a bigger one? Why couldn't it be a smaller one? And the point of this game, I think for me, was to basically make them understand how land use works. Because even after coming to third, fourth year, you don't really like you understand what land use is and why is it used for, and how it's a tool to basically control. But this tool actually communicates itself by doing some things which we somehow like don't see, or even if we see, we don't know how to solve them. So this game make helps you understand the basic conceptual understanding that yes, commercial increases traffic in an area, so you need to give a bigger road, otherwise there will be a kilometer worth of jam. So it's a very basic understanding which I think you get in second or third year when you go through your transport sim or something like this, and you're telling your solution, and the teacher goes like, "But this will create a big jam. The road does not allow you to do this." And just those learning, if those learnings are condensed in a form, that's what the game is providing.
Okay, that's actually a good answer, I'll say. So, sir, now we have a question that a planner would actually ask. This is from Sneha
Right.
from SPA. She's asking, can we import the actual geographical data to the game and build the models?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. There is this
That's like,
modification to the game. Yeah, it's on Steam Workshop. So it basically helps you get the terrain, just the terrain. So basically, geographical data, the terrain of a place, and actually place it in the game. So the game is an open-based game. Okay, it's not sandbox exactly. So it's not like you can edit anything. You cannot edit the algorithm, but you can always edit the assets in the game. So that will be your individual buildings, your roads, your what do you call it? Geographical data, right? Terrain. You can actually control it. So what happens is you have this tool which you can actually use as a presentation tool right now in its raw form.
so I saw somewhere another question going in the same way. Have you ever replicated a settlement or a neighborhood that is like on ground, existing on ground, and you've replicated and maybe run some simulations on it to see how practical could it be?
Uh, no, not really. Because A, it doesn't work on Indian cities, right? I told you this is not for designing, this is for teaching. So I did not apply it.
Mhm.
That's just the solid basic reason, because the technology is not advanced enough to handle real-time simulations. It's just enough to teach you how it is. Like it's still a video game, right? If you wanna
Mhm.
go beyond, there are actually a lot of simulations. Like IBM has a really good simulation environment which they have created, virtual simulation environment, and it can actually like it predicts this, what is it, settlement theory, that how a settlement would grow to I think about 60 or 70% extent, like 60 or 70% exact correct rate. Not a big number, but not a really small number either. Like they understood, they must have done a hell lot of research to actually achieve till that.
Mhm. Okay, so we have a request from the audience. If you don't mind, sir, could you please also show your the city that you designed for your thesis?
Uh, I didn't design a city for my thesis. I told you in my thesis that the city was designed by the students. And no, I
Okay,
cannot show
that's
you
even
that.
more interesting. You should definitely-
Right. No, I actually cannot show you that.
Okay, okay. So
Sorry.
we'll take a step. Uh,
Right, right.
so is that it, or do we have more questions? Think I think yeah, that pretty much. Okay, we have one more. This is again Barsha. So she's saying that I feel for a basic understanding it's good, but for a master or a PhD scholar, I doubt how much helpful it is.
Yeah, true, very
Well,
true.
Tanmay, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
I'd like to add something to this. I mean, considering if we have people from architecture, like I interact with our
yeah,
students from masters and
yeah.
all, people also need to understand the basics of land usage. It is there, it is evident, but that kind of relation is something maybe master students can also take up considering the background. But of
Yeah,
course,
I
you're the
was I was
speaker.
gonna say this only. I was gonna say this only that this is actually like this helped one of my friends understand a lot about planning. Okay, how does exactly planning work? And like this one friend of mine actually created a socialist city, okay, in which every resource is within the city, nothing comes from outside, and his city failed, and he was really like having fun and how it's working, because you see, like a socialist city will fail that the government is paying for everything, and it worked like that. And after I think 3 or 4 years in a game time, the city crashed, that it went bankrupt, and no bank was ready to give you a loan also to support your city. So, I mean, yes, it is helpful for basic understanding only. And I don't think PhD scholar would need that, the basic understanding, but master students can go for it and understand some small thing that they might have missed. I mean, I may have missed a lot of things, and I actually learned some of them through the game.
Okay, we have another question from Harshvardhan. Does the game also
Right.
provide the effects of our modern environment in a climatic context? In a climatic context.
Okay. I'm not sure what he's asking, but I think I'm gonna answer it. So, yes, the climatic context is there. There are 4 seasons, and there is a day cycle which goes through. And at different times, different things will be functioning. Like industries will stop working at night sometimes. Sometimes they will just also, okay, the terrain wise environment actually affects the game a lot. Okay, there are green resources where you can get your wood industry to settle up. If you have your wood industry somewhere else, they might not function that well. Then you have oil underground, right? And there is a map to see all these resources where they are located: mining, petroleum, hydroelectricity, and your wood industry, basically agriculture industry. So it tells you what are the places which are rich in these. So as you expand your city, you will see that you might require more food. There are small tweaks going on in the game which tell what are the requirements of the citizens right now. So you would definitely wanna settle your farm industrial farm near an area which is better for that, because then it just basically gives you more tax. Like if you tax those guys more, they will be ready to give it. If you tax the guys who are not earning more, right, they will get sad and they'll actually abandon the industrial areas.
That makes a lot of sense. Tanmay, I think that is very. We can conclude with this kind of thing. I bet this all the viewers will be going back home right now, playing the game overnight.
Yeah.
Try to brush up their skills and see how much of a
Yeah.
plan become at least. So first of all, I thank you so much. But we have something more
Yeah.
coming up. We are
Right.
not going to limit ourselves to the learning process of this game. We have a, under your supervision as well. We have a competition coming up with the name of Cities Skyline as well, which basically gives the students specific targets that they need to achieve. So we have with us Kenny. He's the coordinator for the event. He'll be elaborating on the event more. Kenny?
Hi. We have an event for City Skylines that's coming up. It'll be happening soon. We already have people registered for that, and so the event is basically just building a city, and based on some of the parameters that we'll be setting. So the parameters will be something like the population should be so much, and the pollution should be below this much, and happiness index should be above some certain percentage. So we will be giving those parameters to to the participants, and they'll have to design a city and give us back. Send us back the city with these parameters already inputted or already detailed out. So along with this, we will be giving. So we will be observing them, and whatever doubts they have, they can ask us during while they're playing through. So it'll be a 10-day period that they can build the city, and a 5-day period before that they will get to actually observe. I mean, actually play around with the game and get like an understanding of the game beforehand. So we'll give them 5 days, and within those 5 days we'll share the map. And after we share like a greenfield map, they can start building the city based on the parameters we have given. And within those 10 days they have to complete the game. I mean, complete building the city, finish a write-up based on whatever like what are the steps they took, that and what are the for example, what are the policies they implemented in some areas, what is the kind of zoning they did. So all basic stuff that they'll have to write down in a maybe 1,000-word report. And these are the two deliverables that we've asked for: a Steam link to the final city they've made, and also a report or a write-up for the final city. So if anybody has any questions for relating to the competition, they can ask.
I think Kenny will answer them in the on the website itself, Facebook or YouTube.
Yeah,
We're streaming it up on so many platforms.
yeah, yeah.
Apart from, you can also always get to us. Our contact details are definitely available on the website. We've also
Yeah, yeah.
left his mail ID on the screen, so I can definitely bet people will be troubling you as well, Tanmay.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
all right. Completely all right.
we also have someone on the executive council. That's Chaitanya Lodha. He's a big fan of the game, and he himself has been promoting us. Who like me, I haven't been playing the game. He has been pushing people that you should definitely try it. We should definitely promote it, and he is here as well to give a concluding note. Chaitanya.
Yeah. Hello. So it was really great talk. Like I must say, it was really structured and all those things that were covered. It was really very insightful. I
Thank
have played this game as well, and like having this structured in such a way, like there were a few things. Even like when I try to explain it to my friends, it becomes a bit cluttered. But the way you structured it
you.
was really nice. And all those things that you have explained, I am sure that those would be really helpful for all the participants. And even I'd really like ask the participants and students to actually like, you're going to play it, but try even streaming it. So we have a Discord server, you can stream on it and you can see and share, and so that even the other people who are not maybe participants, but they can at least experience the way that you're building a city. Because the when you start to build it from the scratch, when you place down the first road, and and then it gets completely blank if you don't have an idea of what you're trying to do. So with this note, I hope to see a lot of nice cities on the Steam workshop as well. I really thank Tanmay for all those insightful things that you have said, and as well as Nirvan. He has been hosting the webinars, as well as the people, Kenny, and all those people who are working in the background. We have Amanpreet, who has been handling all these things. So I thank all of them, and yeah, that's it. Looking forward to everyone participating. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaitanya. I mean, you've pretty much done my work as well. And Kenny, your work has started. We have so many comments coming up, questions on the competition as well. The audience seems so excited. And I thank you, Tanmay, so much for the session. I mean, seriously, I can bet on this one specifically. We'll be taking it up. I'm going to take it up for my thesis. And yeah,
Oh
seriously,
yeah,
it can be.
sure, man. Do I also won the gold medal for my thesis.
But still, now to have people inspired, we're getting back to work. This is the exactly the kind
Mm,
of thing, not just another webinar series intends to achieve, to make the students not just shut their laptops after the session is over and go to sleep. This is where the
right.
work will start. So first of all, I thank all the viewers. Aman in the background, Kenny, Chaitanya, thank you for being here. And sir, I mean, we cannot thank you enough. We'll be seeing
That's
that. You should definitely go to the thank yous going on in the comment section.
mm,
And apart from that, thank you for everyone for joining us. Like the custom suggests us, like, share, subscribe. to our YouTube, Facebook channels. Keep following us for more. We have very interesting guests coming up in the next sessions as well. So stay tuned, guys, because this is not just another webinar. Thank you.
Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Stay